not his leaves. So these things have been played at 4 a.m. So inasoma trust in the yeah. So you can see how bad it is if I come and you are not here. Mr. Gilbert, this is how bad we feel when you come and people will not come to your class. When you are snoring, somebody is doing some work. Okay. So this is what it is. What we are saying basically is that, I said psychological factors are quite many, right? Issues of emotions, motives, attitudes, right? Behaviors, all sorts of things. All those are psychological factors around. And now the issue of the environment also has some catalyst on how you behave as an individual based on the factors that are working on you at that one particular time. So this is how it looks like. You know, when you are a teacher, you behave like a teacher. Okay. Now, women, ladies, when you marry a teacher in the house, your husband behaves like a headmaster. So your husband will be behaving like a headmaster, just sending instructions. Yeah, don't this, don't that, don't this, don't that, and vice versa. If your wife is a teacher, she's a headmistress, you'll be getting a lot of instructions. Headmistress, right? So, yes. Pack instructions. No. Those are headmistress issues, not for classroom, not for region. Number two, when we look at the well-being of an individual, also we do examine much more importantly the functionality of a particular individual, right? And those will be based on the socio-ecological situation. So if you look at this, you find that if you go to Brown, whatever, very long name, the system socio-ecological theory will try to explain these things, that certain people start behaving in a particular way because they are influenced by the ecological situation in which they are, the situation in which they are, and things like those. And these will meet the psychological factors to build up what an individual is. So if you look at, for example, you look at the issues of early childhood development, which you have covered, right? Have you? Yes. If you look at Skinner, if you look at who's that? Brain, long name, I've mentioned that one. Erickson and all sorts of things. They all look at issues of child development from the social learning or behavioral theories, right? And they still look at the psycho part of a child around the environment in which that child is supposed to be. Here, they're trying to explain why certain individuals behave the way they do. Sometimes not because of their physiological or psychological being, but maybe it's because of the ecological situation in which those people are. Something like that. You know? If you look at reverends, I like to get reverends. How many of you are CCAB here? What? CCAB. Church of whatever it means. And how many of you are evangelical? You are China? If you look at the preaching of those, it will be influenced by a lot of factors, right? In their congregation and the environment that in congregation and the type of preaching. Also based on the psychological factors they want to affect in you. See, yes. CCAP is going to talk about, Muzapia. They are building an environment around you with Muzapia. See, they emphasize on that so much. Muzapia kwambie. See, they make sure they create that fear in you. That's what they are trying to do. Build fear in you and tell you, mara muno kumi. No, please, you shouldn't ban me. But they'll be talking about those kumi. And you find that they'll be talking about love your neighbor. See, George, we're coming back to here. Social capital. See, George? Yes. So they're still using the cycle approach to affect you that as an individual you can't live alone. You must have people around you. See, what we talk about social capital here. Kondani mzako wenu mazikondera wewe mwini. Zina Marchani, out of those 10, I don't know, maybe I know only 1 or 2, all this life.
Yes. Not have other
They're being very, 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 very jealous. I mean, yeah.
Why your friend's wife is also
I've never heard of that. No, but they shall not commit adultery. That one is there. So what they are telling us is the opposite of what is supposed to be there. Anyway, so you can see that the issue of environment and whatever it is comes in quite critically. This gentleman called Adolf Meyer, I liked it when I came across it. And to build something very interesting from there, that's an odd one, probably 1900s, whatever it is. He stated that we cannot understand the individual presentation of mental illness, right? In other ways, and I quoted it the way it is, meaning including perpetuating factors without knowing how that person functions in an environment. Okay, give me just a minute. I want you to tell me what that statement means. Gilbert, you tell me what it means. This quote here. Tawonga and Boston, 3, in next 2 minutes. Let's see what that is. Right, Gilbert, what is it?
I think we cannot understand the individual whereby we don't in relationship because them show you more about the information.
Tawonga and Boston. Let's go, let's move on. The time is not on our side. It's a very simple issue. You can only understand an individual's functioning by understanding the factors around him. That is what it means. That is what it means. Right? It simply means that. Okay. And here, you find that when we talk about issues of psychosocial intervention, psychosocial support, psychosocial approaches, this is the genesis of how we understand psychosocial, that it must be understood from the context of the individual's psyche and the environment around that particular individual. Let's move on quickly. I want to finish on this one here. And I mentioned about behavioral and learning theorists. I think I mentioned a few. Erickson, Erickson, Watson, and a few others. Let me pick on Erickson here. If you covered your early child development, I'm very sure you looked at Erickson. Isabella, you did, right? Yes. He's looking at the psychosocial development by focusing on a child and argues that this type of development is a relationship, right, between the mental and emotional well-being, right? So it's still going into cycle, the mental and the emotional well-being of an individual, including the environment about that individual, around that individual. So you can see we're coming from somewhere with a history being built around what it is. Now here, Richmond, Isabella, yes? What does she tell us? You have come across this one before, right?
No.
No? Okay, what's ever come across Richmond here? Anybody who can tell me a very quick short story? Anybody? Okay, this lady, I think around 1990s, but particularly I think 1939, if you have looked at your social welfare and social work history, right? And the difference between social welfare and social work, which anybody can tell me, everybody here should be able to know. What's the difference, Isabel? Social welfare and social work.
Social welfare deals with the well-being of the people, while social work is a profession that
That beats.
it's a profession.
Yeah, so that is a scientific approach. Right? Social welfare is about what you call ameliorating, just to help people improve their functioning at that particular, not function actually, but kupeleka blanket kwa muntu. Is that social work or social welfare? Social work, social welfare? Okay, why? Yes, I like that one. You do it randomly without any basis for that. You give him a blanket when you wanted a shoe, or you give him a shoe when you wanted something else, right? That is social welfare. When we had floods in Sanje in 1983, when before you were born, 83 or something, 82, 81. All social workers, actually floods in Karonga and Sanje. Those days we do not have the disaster management, whatever it is they call. It is a social work issue. We used to call social welfare officers. Were deployed into those places to help those people. Zimagambut, Zimachan, and so forth. And donors will be bringing in food, and so just go and give people because they've been affected by floods. See your church? Yeah, you just give them and you come back. You give them, come back. That is social welfare. It's not social work. Because we are giving some people food when actually they had their own food already. But because they are in an affected area, right? We give them. That is social welfare. Actual social work, we should have done a case analysis for each of those individuals to determine the degree of need, right? That is social work. Because we are using techniques on how to understand that. This is the difference between that. Now, this lady here, in 1933, I remember, if you go back to her history, there was the Philadelphia School of Social Work, and there was the New York School of Social Work. And here, Mary Richmond said that, you see, we cannot be giving people things for free. She's American. And the issue of social welfare started in Europe with what we call Elizabethan poor rolls, right? Where NGOs, churches choose just to help people, something like that as a welfare. In the end, it grew into welfare states in that particular region. Now, at this time here, Richmond said, no, but we must understand, instead of looking at just an individual problem and helping, we must understand the causal factors. Remember I mentioned about causal factors? Behind that particular problem. What is it? And that's where the issue of science came in. You must analyze issues of diagnosis. So, she is the mother of casework, this one. Is the one who started casework. No. We must diagnose and understand the problem, right? And you must follow techniques to do that one. That one there. So here you find that she also talks about. I mentioned already there. So it just came from my age. The mother of casework. It says, to deal with an individual, there's always a cause and an effect relationship. That's what you must understand, and that's where casework comes in. There must be a cause. Remember, I gave you a case of number around here, right? There must be a cause. And if you go to understand and diagnose the situation behind the number, you may discover that she has a mental disorder. It's possible, right? or a behavioral disorder, or a PTSD, right? Maybe she was abused, she grew up in an abusive home and something like that. That fixation is being now applied onto the husband, right? You see that? Yes. So what it means that the two should be able to understand each other, their backgrounds, what is it, and something like that, right? That's why amazima funga kuziwa na bwino bwino. Tatu mwangu mwangu kumana mwangu nyamuna na ngatichi. No. Ngati matora basi kupita. You are in bed together. You don't even know where this one is coming from or this one is giant. Yes? Kugogo msaka mbili bed like this, that's not the most important issue. The important issue, can you build a relationship which is trustworthy? See what you It's not the bed issue. That's a very, very secondary issue. Okay, you can do with that. Right. So here, you find that in case that we always look at prevailing conditions of the service user in the context of the ability to function, right? The conditions of the environment, the relationship, what they call the social capital. So you can see these things came from somewhere. Right? They come down from somewhere, and this is how they are supposed to be understood. Oh my goodness. Time is not on my side, but I want to finish this thing. But next Friday, we'll do something else. It deals with how we understand diverse social, psychological, or the social psychology of an individual, and also does explain the patterns within the individual and how these affect the functionality of that particular individual. Right, this is how we do look at it. And the issue of dysfunctionality came from this one here, right? I think there is what we call okay, when you have a problem, we call that a psychosocial. It means a problem which is built around those issues around. And this is where we came up with what we call the social dysfunction. And also the issues of what we call the psychosocial morbidity, right? It's about how individual may fail, right, to develop their self-awareness. That becomes a psychosocial morbidity. In other words, you cannot develop. In medical terms, it is broader. But for our sake here, it's about your self-awareness, your self-assertiveness, and all sorts of things. That, if you cannot actualize, then you will be actually a victim of what we call psychosocial morbidity. You're not able to self-regulate, you can't build your self-awareness, and also you are fixed by what is happening to you. And this also goes down to issues of awareness in terms of physical or whatever this is. All right. Let's look at these differences. Please take note of this very, very clearly. Very, very closely. I'm closing now. We have 5-6 minutes to go.
Yeah, on psychosocial, is it?
Yeah, morbidity. Yes.
So, can a person grow without knowing him or herself, without understanding him or herself?
That's where a mental disorder comes in. It's possible. It's possible. This friend of mine who asks for an exam every day and fails every day, what do you think it is? He has suffering from that type of. Good. This boy who scored high in an English test when we were in standard 7 in 1972. And because I was always leading, and that test I failed, I didn't fail, but he got more marks than myself. Even today when I met him last week, he was telling me, do you remember Nakuchinya Chizungu? But 1972 is a wrong time. But yes, but Nakuchinya discipline. But he's still in the village, very old. Of course, as old as I am, but he looks older than myself. Why? Not dollar activity. Has no activity. It's just sleep, drink, eat, sleep, eat, drink. That is what else. Serious? Yes. And when people say, "Oh, tonight must do primary," and he looks so old. That's all. What do you know? He's so old. With white hair which is gray, I think because it doesn't samba every day maybe. Yes. And yellow colored teeth. So I said, I'm drinking too much. Anyway, so that's what it is. So let's just look at this quickly. The differences here between counseling itself and psychotherapy. I want you to pay attention to this one here, very, very quickly. In counseling, the goal of counseling is to prevent, right? And looks at the problem before, even after. So counseling can be conducted on an individual to prevent, right, an occurrence or to deal with an occurrence as it happens. That's why I have all these techniques that we have here, right? And psychotherapy, on the other hand, is curative. It cures. These are the differences, right? To cure, the other one will prevent. Psychotherapy, we focus on the treatment, right? And in counseling, we focus on solving a problem, even by dialogue. Here, musasiane, banja ndikumenya na choncho. Siyonchi, this is local counseling. Siyonchi. Girls, this is what they tell you. Siyonchi? No. Akazamba kubandula za kuzani. Mpilila ni konko ndi banja mamenya choncho. Siyonchi? Yes. So, yeah, oh yes. Just like that. You know, you're chari. Yes. Yeah, mwamuna angama yenda liya. Ndiye mwamunayo. Mwamuna ndi kabudora. Mati chani. Whatever. You have all these things, right? These are local therapies that we have, which actually are negative because they don't work to bring desired results, right? We shall look at some of these things. Those things that you go through before Kwatumakara counseling and some church things around, right? All those things are bordered on this. And you find that here, they are trying to prevent a problem in counseling. Counseling in the church is about preventing a problem. See, George? So many small things are there. All those things. Akakumenya msadanda ule kwenda ukali kuose. No, but the human rights people say, no, that's gender-based violence. They are really breaking what is supposed to be building us around. That's right. So gender-based violence is part of it. That's so? That's what you're saying? Gilbert, Ukwabulibu is not an issue. It's a family issue. All right. So this is what it does to us. Awareness, I mentioned it, capacity for one, and also how you can control your emotions. I did mention that as well. This is all what it does. And also here, to maintain your mental health condition. Issues of anxiety, no, go ahead. Anxiety, depression, issues of suicidal thoughts, and something like that, right? And also here, we are talking about the positivity. I think last time we talked about issues of positive thoughts, how you manage those thoughts to be able to understand them. So here we are. What the psychotherapy can do to you. Self-awareness, personal growth, problem solving, mental health, assertiveness. Build your mechanisms to cope with the situations and so forth, and so forth. I think this marks the end of our lesson today. We meet on Friday afternoon. What time? Yeah, I want you to tell me what time. Because we have Friday 1 o'clock we have a class. Friday morning, but we cannot do because there will be no room. We have pushed to Wednesday and Friday afternoon because we don't have activities around. 3 o'clock, 10 to 12. We have no class 10 to 12. Only Friday. Yeah, but we cannot get room. Rule number 1 must be after 1 o'clock. 3 to 5. Why? Uganda are too much this one. Why? Yeah, you calm down. Go. Eric, can you move? No, Boston will move faster. Can you?
No.